Welcome to the Coach U podcast. And today, everybody, we have a special guest. I think we connected a few weeks ago at a conference.
That's right.
And
yeah.
Our friend, the clothing coach, he's got a physical store on Sutter Street in downtown San Francisco. First time I met Madgy, I thought, who is this guy? He is a sharp dresser. And I found out that he actually has a coaching program and coaches other people to dress quite the same. So Madgy, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me, Dennis. I appreciate the time.
Now, you've been doing this now for 6 or 7 years with this business.
With this business, yeah. I'm a lifelong clothier, but the clothing coach was launched in 2016.
What was the inspiration?
Oof, man, that is an interesting question, but I can tell you right now a story that definitely comes to mind. My last retail position, of course, worked in clothing as well, too, selling men's suiting. But I had this couple that walked in one day, and the gentleman basically just went right to the corner. He looked quite disgruntled, and the wife just came right to me and she said, listen, we've been to several stores. He's had health issues for the past few years. He's about to miss our daughter's wedding in a week because he can't find anything to fit. He hasn't been out in years. Can you help us, basically? But luckily for her, he certainly was a challenging fit. It really did take a certain level of expertise. I wouldn't say it's something that the average salesperson could handle. So I got in there, made him look beautiful. Fast forward a few months later, she just came in and she literally just shook my hand and she said, listen, I'm not here to buy clothes today, but I want you to know that the clothes that you picked out for him and the way that he looked, he had so many compliments that it's literally changed their life. We're going out to dinner more. He feels much better now. He's smiling more. Yeah. And the fact that she just told me in that way that it changed his life, I realized, especially seeing the trends that are happening in the retail industry as a whole, that really I'm much more than a salesperson. I'm much more than a general manager or a trainer. I'm the clothing coach, man. I don't just sell threads, buttons, and fabrics. I can change your life. I can help you go out more, be seen, feel better, be more confident, reach your goals. And I realized it's just so much more to it than just being transactional.
Yeah. Anybody can sell threads. Anybody can go to Neiman Marcus and buy something or go to Custom Suit in Hong Kong. So what is it that you are doing from a fashion and image and self-esteem standpoint that separates you? Because not everyone can do what you're doing and work with celebrities. I see you've got some special items that you have that you actually rank on in Google in San Francisco, like this rapper, Andre Nicotina, and you've been featured a number of times. So there's something special you're doing. What's that special sauce?
I'd say really the special sauce is tying the presentation to your personality and goals. My main motto here is it's not about the fashion, it's the passion. Because oftentimes your presentation is really just a tool and it's actually the low-hanging fruit. But so many folks work hard to get their degrees. They have all this information, all this knowledge. They go out, network and meeting, and they leave their look open for interpretation when really we all know how much first impressions matter. Yeah. We all know the impact that it can have. So I really take it from the angle of utilizing your presentation as a tool, because perspective is a weapon, both how you perceive yourself and how others perceive you. And another piece to that too is just a little bit of an education piece on not just putting the outfit together, but understanding how to shop, right? Most of us are now polyester investors, sadly, because the industry has trained us to shop only by price point. And there's so many hidden costs. For example, most cheap wrinkle-free shirts are treated with formaldehyde. So much clothing has lead and other cancer-causing chemicals that folks have no idea of the hidden cost. So it's really factoring in those two pieces of education and awareness around shopping and also understanding your own look and how to maximize it to its full potential.
How much of it is being fit and just having a great body versus having great clothes? What are some of these secrets that you know, or common myths? Like I didn't know that the wrinkle-free stuff had formaldehyde.
I can tell you that certainly, I'll be the first to admit it. I like to say I'm 6'5", less 7 inches. That's how I'll describe my height. So some of us are more gifted with some natural abilities, and it would be a lie to say that some of us may need some more work than others, including myself. I tell you, this mustache and beard came in early. I had to learn how to tame and maintain that thing because I can easily go from the clothing coach to looking Talibanish real quick. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand how to work with that. But I tell you, the style does not have a size. Okay. Anybody can look fantastic and can attract more opportunities and can attract their goals simply by understanding the nonverbal cues that come with presentation and wardrobe. Okay. Plus the added confidence. Immediately, I see it time and time again. Once we put you in that right fit and outfit, immediately the posture is different. The smile is wider and bigger. How do you think those things impact your overall energy and how you're approaching other people? And more importantly, how they're approaching you, because that's we're all selling something at the end of the day. You might say you're not in sales.
Yeah.
You're likely in sales. Okay. How much easier is it, right, to have somebody approach you, start a conversation with you? Because truly, while a lot of people, like you said, people ask, they have all these questions. What do you do? Sure, I'm a clothing coach. So it makes sense. But it's actually more powerful when you're not. Because imagine when you look like this and people ask you, what do you do? And you say, I'm an engineer. Their mind is blown already.
How is that
man.
possible?
They're like, wow.
Looking good, feeling good. And the confidence
Deion
behind
Sanders is the great. I'll just even grab this here just to show you. One of my clients, Dennis Brown, 49er great, was on the team when Deion Sanders was there. And he told me a story that really inspired me and moved me to really pursue this for myself, where this one person, this was back when football players weren't wearing suits, didn't really care too much about dressing up, looking fly. He brought his tailor into the locker room one time. And because he was such a trendsetter, everybody wanted to be like Deion. Literally the entire team lined up. And he was telling me how the tailor right there, his whole life changed. From
his business was set.
All you need is one sometimes. But this also reminds me of the story where his famous quote, you look good, you feel good, you play good, so they pay good. It translates to every look. Deion Sanders is really one of the greatest philosophers of our time. And I truly believe that. And to just see how he lives his life, he leads by example. But he said that classic quote, you look good, you feel good, you play good, they pay good. Translates to everything. When you feel confident, when you look great, you're not just going to attract more opportunities, you're literally going to make more money.
Yeah. So you, by definition, the way you look, setting the example, the way your clients look, and how that drives referrals, just like with Deion Sanders, it's like you don't even need any marketing because your clients do the work for you and you have tremendous word of mouth. How's that affected your business?
I tell you, Dennis, I see why you're in the marketing space, because you understand things quite well. That's what's kept me around until now, to be honest with you. In this digital age, believe it or not, that word of mouth and that personal connection. And that's why I really always believe in it, despite all the AI and all the changes that have come and are coming. Definitely building that bond and that connection and leading by example. I've learned a lot of times that, through the power of just even sharing a story can be really inspiration to folks. And they don't always shop just because they need that coat. Sometimes they do shop because of who you are and what you represent. And that was very evident when the shutdowns were happening. And I could tell you some dear clients who I will never forget, who've been shopping with me for over 10 years now, from my retail career till now. And so many of them came, bought that jacket when nobody else was, because they understood the power and impact that a small business like mine can have. And they understand that you're literally voting with your dollars more than you vote at the ballot box. And so many have made it clear that experience still matters.
I get the sense that there are a lot of men like me who are not necessarily fashionable, but we want to look good and we're speaking on stage and we have to represent ourselves well, but we're afraid to ask questions around what kind of suit should we get? And so people like me will wear nice clothing just for weddings and funerals. And the rest of the time we'll just wear a polo or whatnot. I get the sense that you cater to a lot of that audience, people who are not models, people who are not celebrities, but they still want to look good because they're professionals, they're founders, they're CEOs, they're entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, like I said, some of these folks, once they begin to realize that's really the low-hanging fruit, right? And again, with some guidance, of course, because it's not very easy. I remember working in retail when a gentleman would walk into the store, look up and just be overwhelmed by the number of options that was on the shirt wall alone, let alone the ties. And now imagine the internet, right? Where do you start? What website do you go to? What's your size? Over 60% of what's bought today is returned or exchanged. It's a problem. And trust me, those returns are not going to be free forever. As you see in this changing world that we're in, maybe Amazon Prime is going to be the only one large enough to absorb that. But most retailers, especially, including Nordstrom, are no longer going to have free returns. And you're definitely seeing it with some outlets today.
Now you're pulling off a pretty cool, is that a teal or a turquoise coat?
Turquoise is a little more.
You think I could pull that off?
In there.
How can you pull that off? And do you think I could pull that off?
That's the thing. One of the best ways to up your style is often to start working with something that can select your outfits for you. A lot of folks now get these outfits in a box, and that could be a great step to start, but it's really not a one size fits all strategy. I like to say, why dress to an algorithm when you can dress to your life rhythm? And those are the folks that are coming to see me, because what may look great on me may not necessarily translate well on you. I'll get clients that'll bring in a celebrity or somebody they saw on social media. Hey, I want that look. And I have to delicately sometimes explain that that is not the most flattering look for you, but that is my job. That's what a lot of folks have forgotten and no longer come to expect when you walk into a department store or retail establishment. You're not expecting expertise and guidance, but that's what I do here at the Clothing Coach, right? It's like the doctor. But you don't tell me what medicine you want. I tell you the medicine you need. And that's, as a clothing professional, that's how it used to be. Back in the day, you used to be able to go into a department store and just say, hey, man, I have a job interview coming up. The guy would just say less, man. He pull out his measuring tape, boom, and you'd come out there looking like $1 million half the time.
Yeah.
Really, since the 90s, that model has became, especially as more and more department stores and retail companies shifted towards being publicly traded, and you're incentivized completely differently.
Yeah.
And for decades, these companies have been training their staff how to clerk and not steal more than they have taught them anything about clothing, style, fabrics, and what the consumer really needs to know.
They're just pure retail. They don't have the expertise. Otherwise, they'd open their own store and be like you.
That's true too. That's true too. But the model has changed. These companies used to see value in that. That's actually, interestingly enough, George Zimmer, the Men's Warehouse,
I guarantee it.
You look, I guarantee, he was pushed off the board of his own company simply because he believed in investing a little bit more in the associates to demonstrate the importance of dressing and the quality to clients. But I can completely see now why, and I'm a big fan of this for sure. So I'd ride with him any day, but I understand completely why the board felt differently, because that's not the direction that the industry as a whole was heading towards or is heading towards.
Yeah. Need a person who actually cares. Otherwise, it's someone like me. I remember when I graduated and I wanted to celebrate, I went out to an Italian clothing store and I bought these Zegna ties for $450.
Ooh,
I had some and they were nice.
I bet.
Handmade in Italy. I had some custom suits that were made, and those were several $1,000s each. And I visited my aunt and my cousin at Goldman Sachs, and they had custom suits and they looked the part, like straight out of the annual report, GQ. And I felt so amazing. I was fit back then too, with a custom suit. But then I've got other friends of mine and they'll say, check out this $3,000 suit from some name brand, and it looks terrible because it doesn't fit. And because they don't have proper hygiene, and just because they have a fancy suit on, it doesn't cover all of that. What do you have to say about, you covered it just a moment ago about it's not how expensive, of course, retail is trying to train you on how expensive it is, but how much of it's fit and making things fit together as a composition, and what else do people need to know?
I would likely say outside of fabric and fit really are competing for the top spot in what you most consider. So let's just say you got to consider them both. They're really equally important. Fabric, number one, because it's not just about you wearing it, it's how it wears you, how it lays on your body, the luster, the sheen, the longevity, because not only is it going to perform better, there's something I like to call price per wear, right? You might be paying sometimes a little bit more of an upfront cost, but when you factor in how often it's going to last in your wardrobe, oftentimes a better quality fabric is a better deal or value than some of the inexpensive fast fashion products that you may get. And fit, absolutely. I can tell you this right now. You can work with a master clothier like myself and a tailor and get a better look. I'll bet on a look from a thrift store than you can go to Louis Vuitton, Burberry, Bruno, the fanciest designer store you could think of. Okay. I will bet on me and my tailor taking you to the thrift store and coming out with a better look that's going to be stronger and more powerful than you can on your own at Neiman Marcus.
What percent of the time are people going to fit off the rack? How many people have that perfect body where it's going to fit?
Very little. Certainly some have where it's acceptable. It's really hard to get a perfect fit. It's ultimately very challenging, especially if you're adding a little height, if you're overweight, even if you're muscular, if you're fitted. Some folks need custom. But really what a lot of folks don't realize is, the off the rack, it looks okay. But I can't tell you how many clients of mine, ones who really want to look sharp, they get their t-shirts tailored. Because you have to keep in mind, you may spend an extra 20, 30, 40 bucks on some alterations, but you're drastically improving the fit of that garment. It's going to perform much better for you. You're going to feel more confident.
So Maggie, what I have to ask you, I've got a lot of friends that have these $150 plain white t-shirts, and I feel like they're not any better than the $15 ones I can get at Costco. What's really the difference?
Main difference is the fabric. You really have to understand a little bit about fabric. Most Egyptian cotton t-shirts that you see are not truly Egyptian cotton. They're the seed. They're grown in places like Korea, which again takes away all the value of the special nature of Egyptian cotton, has to be grown in particular regions in Egypt. A lot of times it's just understanding what is the fabric. If it has any synthetic in there, it's likely overpriced. It's likely not a great value. So you can tell a lot by just the fabric. Second is where it's made.
Yeah.
You're going to have higher quality control on items that are made in the USA, made in Canada, made in Italy, made in Peru. There's certain countries that do have a higher standard of quality that does translate in those stitches, how the shoulder can lay, the fit as well too. That's really what separates the t-shirts, because you could go now to especially the wholesale blank tees, and there is millions of options. Even the cheaper tees have levels of cheap tees. You really have to understand a bit about fabric to really know if you're getting a value.
There's no way I would know. But let's just say you and I, we're meeting at a conference and I'm walking with you and you have that master eye. What are the first things you're looking at when you go to a conference or you go to a party or a business meeting? What are the things like, damn, that guy is looking like a clown, or here's some mistakes that you're seeing? So that way the rest of us don't make these sort of mistakes.
I'm going to tell you a very common mistake that I routinely see is when you first purchase, especially an off-the-rack suit, it's going to have a label right here on the right. This is called the Joker tag. Okay. Now, like I said, it's called the Joker tag because you're a joker if you leave it on, man. Take that thing off, okay? And you typically do need a professional to do it. So many people put holes in it because those can be very tight stitches, but that's important to take that off carefully without damaging the suit. Very common mistake I see. Second most common, I would say, is wearing your suit and pants different. So we split those two. The wear on the fabric can be different. So when you wear them as a suit, again, believe it or not, it can look like a mixed match suit because you wore the jacket so many more times, the fabric and fibers have broken down. So it actually doesn't perfectly match the pant. And another is inexpensive or cheap dry cleaners, because when they burn or do the cleaning or pressing at too high a temperature, especially on polyesters and inexpensive fabrics, it creates like a sheen that you can see, especially under some light or if you're walking in the sunlight. So those are all common things that I typically see. Definitely fit is another one. To most people are walking around ill-fitted. Absolutely. So not just folks like me will recognize when you go to a tailor, that is a big piece on what makes you look like $1 million. It's so aesthetically pleasing. Most people don't understand why.
Yeah.
Sure, if you've never worn a suit and you put on any suit, you'll get some compliments. But I tell you, man, when you wear that right suit, you will feel the compliments. The sincerity is at a different level. It really is when you really look sharp.
And it's you. It's not the clothing. They think like you are the better person.
Exactly. Absolutely. And our clothing, our image, it's really just an extension of who we are. Yeah. And so many of us leave that open for interpretation simply because we don't know how. Most people that tell me I don't care, it's really, I don't know how.
Yeah. I have a favorite custom suit that was tailor-made for me in Asia, and I love it, but I think it's getting old. When do I know it's time for a new suit?
The beautiful thing about a quality suit and high quality fabric is it can last you for season after season. I have suiting that's well over a decade in the wardrobe, but definitely you want to pay attention to the wear and tear around, especially the hot spots, right? Underneath the arm, inside the jacket, is that really wearing? Is the fabric stained there? Depending on the quality of coat, you could get the lining replaced. How's the wear around the crotch? A lot of times it's rubbing or certain creasing there. So look around the hot spots that get the most tension, and then you can typically see if it's time to retire that suit.
Yeah. So Madgy, why should people reach out to you? Why is it worthwhile for them to hear the advice that you're giving here?
I truly believe that the power of presentation is extremely real. And I think that in today's world that is very identity driven, but also digitally driven, we're all seeing so much. We don't have to be celebrities anymore or public figures for our presentation to matter. Anybody that tells me, oh yeah, I'm on Zoom calls, I don't need pants, there is something in your life. Like, do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend? Are you trying to grow your career? There's a space in there where your presentation will likely help you. It can only help. Just like people ask me, I'm going to this event where I overdress. Man, just go ahead and put the tie on, because in all likelihood, overdressing is very rarely a bad thing.
Yeah, versus the other way around.
Exactly. I was just going to say, and it's certainly not as bad as underdressing.
Yeah. Madgy, what question do you wish people would ask you?
My favorite question, or I wish they would ask me more, is what's in my clothes? Because a lot of times I see a very direct correlation between the food industry and clothing, right? If you go back 10, 15 years ago, nobody gave a damn what was in a cheeseburger as long as it was $1. And slowly over time, people started to realize, oh, shoot, man, there's terrible things that are causing me to gain weight, causing me that are doing terrible things. So they begin to look for alternatives and they begin to create awareness, which in turn the market responds and starts to present us with better options in food. And I see the same thing happening in clothing, where I'm telling you, Dennis, just give it a couple more years and you're going to see an organic section at your local department store in the same way you do your local grocery.
So real quick, explain what we don't know about what's in our clothing. You mentioned like formaldehyde, wrinkle-free, but what are some of the other things that would kind of shock people?
I just want to remind people, like, what is polyester, right? Because I tell you, especially here being in the San Francisco Bay Area, the issues around global warming and climate change are often top of mind. And I've heard so much concern with these things. I want to reduce emissions. And yet at the same time, so many of us are walking around in polyester, right? Emitting all the time. I'm telling you, when your thighs are rubbing together in those polyester trousers, man, it's emitting things. These fabrics are disintegrating. They're not just toxic during production, they're toxic as you wear them. So if you're passionate at all about the environment or eating organically, so many folks where we spend all this extra money on organic food, but then you go buy an inexpensive formaldehyde-laced dress shirt, right? You get out the shower, hot shower, your pores are open, you put that thing on, you're soaking up all those chemicals. They actually go directly to your bloodstream. You could actually argue that being exposed to chemicals in this way is worse than when you eat them, because when you eat them, at least your liver's, it's filtering through your liver and your body's working to protect you. When it goes directly to your bloodstream like that, it's actually not. And I just think awareness is going to continue to be on the rise, where folks are like, yeah, this might be causing a rash. I can't tell you how many clients of mine have told me, man, thank God you just told me a little bit about that polyester. I thought I couldn't sleep. I thought I was having nightmares. And man, it was just these damn polyester sheets. I went and got me some cotton and wow, you changed my life. I really think that's a very important piece that's going to continue to be on the rise.
Dude, that is shocking. And formaldehyde in the clothes, we might as well be corpses where we get preserved forever.
Literally, man, literally. Shein, a very popular fast fashion brand that introduces something like 2,000 new styles a week. But recently there was a study done on one of their toddler jackets that found the levels of lead in this toddler's jacket was 20 times what was considered safe for a human. Wow. And there's going to be a lot more of this to come down the pipeline as folks really realize, how are they producing this clothing so fast for $2.99? There's got to be a hidden cost, right?
It's the dollar menu, but for your body.
The dollar menu for your body. That's right.
The correlation about what you put in your bodies is important with what you put on your body, because most people look at it just superficially without realizing it actually can affect your health and your sleep. Incredible.
Man, your skin is your largest organ. And when your pores are open, it's like a big mouth in many ways. And think about this. One of the most common places polyester is at the gym. Okay, most gym gear and gym wear is laced with all types of petroleum-based waste and God knows what else.
Cotton is not going to be, you're going to sweat more into it. It's going to rub against you. So what are you going to do if it's not cotton and silk?
A lot of times you have to keep in mind, all these synthetic fabrics are trying to mimic natural fibers and natural fabrics. When you see things like antimicrobial or vents for breathability, climate cool technology, what's all that doing? It's just trying to make the fabric more like cotton is really all they're trying to do. So the sweat we produce, it's got to go somewhere, right? So granted, you could be wicking it away and letting it fall all around you rather than gathering it in a shirt, which I would say is a little more hygienic if you ask me. But
it's true.
One of the most important pieces of how to protect yourself is actually wearing cotton undergarments, right? A-shirts, or my least favorite term to call them, wife beaters, as so many people call them. But I tell you, these cotton undergarments, they really help protect your body. They absorb a lot of that cotton. And yes, it is going to gather. It is going to be a little wet. But you know what? The power of laundry is nature. You can wash that thing, get you some more in the rotation, and not release all those microplastics into the ocean as you are with all these polyester garments that you're washing at home.
Amen. Helping the environment, being healthier, and looking better. Triple combo.
All of it. That's right.
Madgy, it's been an honor having you on the Coach U Show. How can people find out more about you?
You can certainly just Google the Clothing Coach. I should come up on everything. Maybe follow me on Instagram at Coach MKK for some more of these tidbits. Also have at the Clothing Coach as well, too, to see more of our garments from our clothing studio. I have actually a podcast that I released as well, too. That's still available for download. 10 episodes are available. I got motivational videos. The content is out there, man. Check out the Clothing Coach.
Hell yeah.